from Timothy. 3 skills would be media savvy, and media savvy. And there's a lot of ways to look through that. That's not only negotiations, but understanding how do you find dollars? How do you find ability to sell your content? One of the things that Bob Bowlesby was able to do when they found the new 4, when they decided these are the 4 we're going to go into the future with whenever Texas and Oklahoma leave, is the fact that he was able to prop up content. That's a big deal. Sometimes some of you, and even others that I know, have kind of scoffed at that. But that is going to be something the Big 12 has going forward that they better have and be able to sell it as well. From Lee, priority is to be proactive. We need to think outside of the box to make more money. SEC and Big Ten are pulling away. Weekday games, Magnolia Network. We need something to create a buzz with the Big 12. And we appreciate, Lee, and your response as well.
The shiplap game of the week.
Scotty,
Magnolia Network.
Scotty,
no, I mean,
yeah.
No, I mean and I was kind of referring to that as well. I mean, just in terms of somebody being, familiar with the media. You stated it a lot better than I did. But yeah, somebody that can, not only have a knowledge of how everything works, but yes, somebody with some good ideas that could, come up with some thing that nobody's thought of just yet, or a mutant version of maybe a small idea somebody had, and they've taken it and ran with it and turned it into, like the Big 12 game of the week on Amazon. And I know that that's far-fetched to an extent, but, I just did turn Apple TV on and saw all those MLB games, all that marketing, yep. and that certainly looked different, but it looked good. And, we'll see if Apple pursues even more and what these other streaming networks do. But, yeah, if somebody could come up with the idea of, like, the first ever, highlighted streaming college football game of the week. But, problem is that if that happens, I would bet basically my entire paycheck that it would be the SEC will be the first to do that. Why? Because that's what we've been just kind of conditioned to, because they are the ones that have come up with a lot of the good ideas or have been on the more proactive path. But, yeah, that's what I would like to see, is somebody coming up with some ideas, making it different, giving them, like, what is the Big 12's identity? Like, when you really think about it, what is it? It's been Oklahoma and Texas, basically. That's their identity. Other than that, they're just a bunch of teams in the South and in the Central states that, aren't blue bloods, that have been at the mercy of OU and Texas, quite frankly. And even when they win, they don't get respect, because every time, a non-OU or Texas team wins a Big 12 title, oh, well, OU and Texas were down this year. It's like clockwork. Oh, well, they were down this year. Like I saw Baylor win the Big 12 title. Oh, well, the quarterback play wasn't that good in the league this year. The defenses weren't there. It's always something. It's always something when it's not one of the big schools.
Who's also helped OU and Texas be down? Although OU football's been fine. They don't play for the Big 12 title. It's shocking. It's the other teams. Some of the other teams around them have gotten better and kind of pushed them down a few times as well.
Yeah, there has been that. Yeah. But, and it's like, okay, well, if the quarterback plays good, then why didn't your team go win it? So it should have been easier to win it, and you guys were actually worse. So your argument sucks. But anyways, it's always been kind of the redheaded stepchildren factor with the other 10 teams, or with the other 8 teams in the Big 12. And so, with those two gone, it's going to be wildly different. And how do you market that? I mean, what do you market it as? It doesn't have the big brands. It doesn't have a ton of, the type of history that's always pointed to, which is Crystal footballs and Heisman trophies. It's got some of that, but not much of it in comparison to the two that are leaving combined. So, what's the identity of the Big 12? I mean, do you know?
I don't know if I can identify that.
And I don't know that they need one. I don't know.
Right now, it might be that they're a hell of a basketball conference with some pretty good football.
The SEC, I guess, is just Southern football and big money and, the best players and whatever.
They're an 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah, but, a lot of that is to them hammering that home over your head over and over again as well, and that's the media marketing side. Like, hey, it would be helpful if the Big 12 had a guy who kind of could nudge, like, hey, maybe give us a little love every other week or so, you know what I mean? Because there was definitely, like, an intention in the media when it came to promoting the SEC. Like, there was a plan there in the early 2000s to promote it a certain type of way.
When you are the network that has tons of money riding on the success of a network, and you have their games, although CBS did as well, the SEC network was created for a reason, and then promoted for a reason.
And so they had this entire machine behind them, and so it wasn't just college football fans all of a sudden just going, whoa, what? Look at that. The SEC, look how good the football is there. I mean, no, like when LSU beat Oklahoma in the early 2000s, I don't remember hearing jack about the SEC. Like maybe there was some chance, but like that wasn't registering in my head. It was only until like that kind of started building in those next few years. And then the Floridas and Bamas and all that got involved to where that machine really started rolling. But that was non-existent in 2000, 2001, 2002. I mean, it was like mid-2000s when that really started going. So we've had about 15, 16 years of like that kind of, and I don't mean the term propaganda negatively, because again, like I said on Friday, like they go out and win. They go out and have both teams in the title game. Like they back it up. So it's not a knock on the SEC. The point is like there was a machine behind them. There was a machine that like it helped that they won games, but it also helped that then when you watch the post game, all you heard and were beaten over the head with was how great what you just saw was and how great the players were and how much better they were than the other teams that you watch and all this. So I don't think the commissioner needs to be somebody who's going to try and like spew propaganda, but I think it would be great if somebody could kind of say like, hey, here's the Big 12. This is what's great about it. This is what you could, kind of market. This is what we can kind of profile. This is, and you're not going to be able to have the machine that ESPN was, of course not, but just some pride, and
maybe
some like,
you can, though. Maybe
here's who we are, and here's what we're about, and this is why it's not much of a drop off, and and I just.
But if ESPN is a part of the next broadcast rights, and they will be, you would think, in some particular way, if not in a big way, then make them want to promote you.
Right.
Maybe not put as much into it as you do the SEC, but there is really no Big 12 network. There really isn't like there is an SEC network.
It's been like a digital network.
You couldn't have one because of what Oklahoma and Texas have.
Well, you don't really need one. I mean, I don't know how many people would be tuning into the Big 12. I mean, maybe there would be an audience for it.
One of the reasons this show became somewhat popular was because a lot of different fan bases around the country who are Big 12 fan bases or wanted to be were searching for something to get information, some place to get information from. And we gave you some of that along the way. Not always enough, but at least we gave you some when you wanted it back in July, August, September of last year.
Right. I get that there's a Big 12 audience. I'm just saying I don't know how valuable a network would be. I don't know that you're going to get a ton of subscribers for West Virginia, Iowa State random competition on Sunday. Like, I just don't know if conference networks are really the end-all, be-all like they seemed to be about 5 years ago. Remember when everybody's rushing to get a conference network? 2 years later, do you hear anything about the Big 12 and a conference network?
Pac-12 almost wishes they didn't have one.
that's what I'm saying. Like, for the SEC, it works, but I know I'm mentioning them, but it's because they are the number one. But, I mean, this applies to the ACC. This applies to the Pac-12. This applies to any of the other conferences. Somebody's going to have pride in the Big 12 and be able to represent it on a national stage and not – feel like a lesser than in a room with, those who are talked about all the time. And I kind of do feel like that there is this imbalance going on that's never going to be balanced because the money's never going to be balanced. But just because you make more money doesn't mean I can't look you eye to eye, chin to chin. And that's what I want that new commissioner to be able to do, no matter if it's Greg Sankey, the president of the NCAA, or, the quarterback at Oklahoma State. I just want him to be a guy that walks in the room, commands respect, and people know that he's not going to back down.
In a couple of other chat rooms, Scotty B needs great leadership with great vision for the future, like that TV contract and how they can make that valuable even without Texas and Oklahoma, or as valuable as they could possibly be. Make more money. Make more money than they do right now. From Mike, we can't have them here when the new teams join, talking about the 4 new teams, Texas and Oklahoma, although that very much looks like it possibly could happen.
They've said there could be a crossover year. I mean, the way it stands right now, I wouldn't think so either. I mean, I just think that would be an awfully messy situation. Just, the mixture of teams. You'd have teams that have been here all along, teams that are just coming in, and teams trying to leave. That just seems like a wonky formula.
Rotating door, yeah.
But, I mean, as of right now, until Oklahoma and Texas declare some intentions of what exactly they're going to do, if they're going to do something before 2025, then that is what's going to happen.
One of the things Mike did mention, the SEC and ACC networks work because they're both owned by ESPN. If you have something that's owned by ESPN and they put money in it, and there are stockholders or there are reasons that they want it to be successful, you can say whatever you want about it. It doesn't hurt that they are the ones who run the ship at times.
And with a conference channel, like, that to me is just not a priority. That's why I'm just not really focusing in on that. It just doesn't seem like the list of the biggest things to do, quite frankly, or something that's going to be a big moneymaker for you. So I would much rather them go out and search streaming and whatever else is possible out there. And if there's some network talks that happen that could make some sense, like cool, but I'm just saying like that wouldn't be an overwhelming priority for me if I was a new commissioner, was like getting a conference network. I think that that's maybe even going to the wayside a little bit.
Paul said our commissioner could be a her.
Yeah,
that is absolutely Baylor President Linda Livingstone. Dr. Livingstone's name has been mentioned by media outlets. And in fact, I've had some conversations. Jason Cook, who runs the media information. Right now, most of anything being said, and we take a break here and come back with Matt Baker from the Tampa Times on USF, and some of the things they're trying to do to be seen and heard as possibilities of whatever next line of realignment there might be. But Dr. Livingstone, right now, the Texas Tech president is the one who is the voice at this time with the Big 12. One thing about when you walk in the room, there's no question, even if he made mistakes or things that people never will forgive him for, Bob Bowlesby, by doing the cease and desist and also by adding those 4 teams as quickly as they did, all of them make sense. Maybe you could argue against 1 or 2 if you want. He gained tremendous credibility by doing that because a lot of people thought at the time that everything was about to go straight belly up. When we come back, Matt Baker on USF, the Bulls in football.